Alright everybody, we are back with more of the discovery for the 2024 summer campaign that just released yesterday. Today is July the 2nd, and we are going to be tackling the next 5 maps on the campaign, starting from 11 all the way to 15. As you can see, this is the blue series. We are only doing 5 maps today because these are going to be a bit more difficult than the first 10 we did in the first video. And with that said, we're going to jump straight into track number 11 and see what we are working with. Very curious to see how easy these author medals are going to be, if they are even achievable for me. Starting off nice and strong with an ice map, a little bit of a bobsleigh. Bit harder to control on the wheel here, but we're going to do our best. We're going to manage. Back onto the pavements. A little bit of the sand patches for control. Try to get a good entry here on the bobsleigh. I have yet to see or play these maps, so I really don't know what to expect here. I've been trying to keep it a surprise to me this entire time, trying to avoid watching the other discovery videos on YouTube, just so I can get the full experience of what these maps are like. And we have the transition onto the grass wall ride, and straight into the finish for our first official finish. Starting off with the bronze, but of course that was with a respawn as well. Going straight in for attempt number 2. Not doing too hot as of right now. Lacking a lot of control on that first bobsleigh. Gotta start working on that entry. And that is not the intended path. Try to cut a little bit sooner. And that's a little bit better here. Way early on that second one. We are going to reset that. Try to get a little bit further up this hill before we enter that bobsleigh turn. Definitely could have been a lot better. But just to get some experience, we're going to play this out to see how it feels. Into the next one. Losing a lot of control here compared to that very first run. Let's try to recreate that. Already much better on the first turn. Once again, took that way too early. Alrighty. Posing to be quite a challenge here with the wheel. Thinking we need to be at the top of that hill before we even go into the entry. There we are. Slight turn to the left right before it does help out quite a bit there. And let's get the water balance onto the pavements. Probably should have been a bit more left there, but still got a pretty fair entry. And around the dirt turn. Hugging it very close on that inside edge. But we're surviving here. Down into the last bobsleigh turn, if I'm not mistaken. And that is enough for the finish. Still progressing on the prestige skins. A bit slower there. But let's see if we can get the other medal with this path. Definitely not that one. Based off of what a lot of other people say, they do like playing maps, ice maps I should say, with cam number 1 on keyboard. Let's go and give that a shot just to see how much we can improve here. I feel like it will be much, much easier to line up some of those entries in Cam 1. For all the viewers that did not watch my first video, typically I am a controller player, but starting off with the Summer 2024 campaign, I thought what better way to start playing with the wheel. So we of course are giving that a shot, with the exception of some of these ice maps. So we're giving the keyboard a little bit of a go, still posing to be quite the challenge here. By no means am I a good keyboard player, but should be much easier than the wheel. That was already much better. I get to this entry. That was very fair. Gotta control this dirt turn. All the way around, keep that going. Down for the last bobsleigh turn. A bit high of an entry there. And we lost it. That was a pretty fair run though. Let's keep it going. Good second turn there. That's going to give us a nice transition onto the pavements. Taking this one a little bit to the left so we can get a nice entry on this next one. Lots of room for improvement on that one. Pretty good first bobsleigh turn there. Fair transition to the second one. But you know, I realized I'm using Cam 2 instead of Cam 1. Let's try out Cam 1 instead. This one should give us a much better view of where we're going. Already feeling much more comfortable here. I forget that on the first video for this campaign discovery, I had to switch some of my bindings for my keyboard just based on my current setup, and I realized I did not correct that all the way here. Here we are, getting a good transition on the grass. Should be enough for the gold medal here. And just like that, we're at a 44-3. Still have 1.1 to go for this author medal here. This one's going to be a bit challenging by the looks of it. We may just end up sticking with the gold medal on these maps for now. And depending on how much I can improve, we could be hunting other medals a little bit later on for these last 15 maps. But already a pretty fair run. Doing much, much better. And so far we are on pace for that autumn medal. Let's see if we can keep it going. There we are, good transition to the grass. This should be enough. And we have the 42-9. Underestimated that a lot. Looks like my calculations were a bit off, because we still have 0.7 to improve on for this author medal here. Let's see how much more we can improve in these next couple of runs. Good transition there. Let's make this nice and smooth onto the dirt. Try to take a nice wide line, try to keep as much speed as we can. Back onto the ice, try to get a nice transition here. You know, that felt pretty decent, but it looks like we are a bit slower. Let's give it one more go here, see if we can make any improvements. And that was a very strange water bounce. Probably should not have gone with that input there. Beautiful high slide to start off with. Following up with a really nice second one as well. A little bit slower on the speed, but we're not out for the count just yet. A little bit of an air time there. That looks like it lost me quite a bit of the speed there. Making up for it on these checkpoints. Can I get a good slide here into the grass? Down to the ice. And we are still improving. About 0.5 to go. Let's give it at least one more run now that we're getting the hang of things. Constant tapping throughout these turns. Just try to maintain that speed. We're going to reset here. Try to take this a little bit later. Get right in the crevice of that turn. And again with the water bounce. Screwing me up there, man. There we are. Get a good transition on this one. Into the water. No inputs. And here we are with the speed. Oh, messed up that transition to the dirt. That was looking like a really promising run. Let's try this out a couple more times. Those first two bobsleigh turns are looking pretty promising. Get a nice one before the dirt. Nice and lined up. All the way around the dirt corner. Felt a bit of a gear slip there. Looks like it's not too bad though. This could be auto pace. Assuming that I did not mess up that last bobsleigh turn. This is looking very doable so far. Looks like we can do it in under 15 minutes. Very nice there. Carrying more speed. Get a good transition here. That's where I lost a lot of time on my personal bests. Get a good dirt slide. And we are half a second ahead. And for some reason that is just turning me in a very awkward manner there. My one downside to playing keyboard is I just feel like I have such a lack of control just because I'm not very familiar with it. Here we are, now we're rocking with something. Around the dirt we go. Into the drop down for the ice. Lining up this bobsleigh turn. Could have been much, much better, but this is definitely going to be our best run so far. And it is enough to get the author medal, so we are going to be satisfied with that. And moving on to track number 12. Switching back to the wheel, of course. Back into our Cam 3. Looks like a narrow path map here. Could be a technical map. Bit of confusing options here. Looks like we want to take the left side to get ready for that big right turn. Big left slide as well. Into a dirt turn. Once again, a split decision. We're going to take a left just to see where this goes. Up and over into the finish. Good silver medal to start off. Up and around we go. Onto the narrow path to go left. Need to work on avoiding that grass there. Taking the left side this time in preparation for this big right turn. Could have avoided that release there. We're going to make a slide to the left. Into this next third turn. Already carrying more speed, well ahead of our PB. Up into the last straight for the finish. Still 0.7 off the gold medal here. Seems like a bit of a challenging one. Let's see what we can do about maximizing our speed here. Need to start turning a bit earlier on that turn there. Too early that time around. Try to avoid that grass that time at least. And we tapped the edge of that wall. That felt pretty solid. Let's try to stay on the pavement as much as we can. No wall tap that time. Felt much, much better. Big slide all the way around to the right. We're going to start this one a bit earlier, so we do not have to release. Up and around the dirt. We'll take it right side this time. And that's going straight into the wall. Let's go ahead and reset and try this out again. Bit of a challenge on those uphill turns. I seem to be struggling with those quite a bit here. That one was pretty fair. Try to stay on some of the penalty for those narrow roads. Taking it to the left. We're going to try to start this pretty early here. Maximizing our speed. Once again, early left. All the way around in preparation for the dirt turn. Fairly an easy finish here. I do believe that going left is a little bit faster, so we are going to keep up with that. Straight into the finish. That is enough for our gold medal. And we do have over 2 seconds to improve to get this author medal here. I can tell this one is going to be very technical and very challenging on this one. This might be a map where we just have to take gold for now, but of course we're going to give it a couple more attempts to see how close we can get on this discovery run. Completely forgot about the slide on that turn there. Bit of a smaller side, because I know we have much more room to work with there, and that is going to give us more speed. So let's try this again. Starting to get a feel for this map, understanding it a little bit more. No release on that turn. Once again, no release on that turn as well. Trying to carry as much speed for this dirt section. Half a second ahead with more speed. Flip that sand just a hair there. And we're going to have a slight improvement. And this is about the 2-second mark for our author medal. I felt like a much better start compared to our first couple of runs. Excuse me. All the way around into the finish. Try to keep this nice and straight. And we are at 37.7. 1.2 seconds off. Good first uphill turn there. Keeping it on the pavements. A bit slower than our last run, but we may be able to improve on other places here. Should have held that slide a little bit longer there. We are a bit slower on this finish. We're going to reset, save some time. And really struggling on that narrow section there. This one's feeling pretty fair so far. And somehow I did miss the slide there. I felt like I was doing it correctly, so I'm not entirely sure what went wrong there. That was a very sad run to give up. Starting to risk a little bit too much trying to take that first turn wide to get a good setup here. Bit too much time on the grass. And here we are. Let's see if we can keep on the pavements. That's looking good. Carrying a lot of speed here. Into the slide. Miss the trees. We're going to go around, hold this slide a little bit longer. There we are. Around the dirt. Still not as fast as our PB. And we are going to go straight into the finish here. And with that said, this one is going to be a bit of a struggle by the looks of it. I'd like to call it here for now. Let this settle and simmer just a little bit. We're going to go ahead and move on to track number 13. Once again, driving alone. Got a little bit of a plastic map here. This one should be interesting. Now I do like these transitions where you're either going from plastic or grass onto pavements, because essentially you can start sliding your car a little bit early so you can avoid braking to slide your car. Typically that's a bit more comfortable for me on the wheel. Looks like we're gonna have to hold just a little bit on that one, because I don't think doing that half pipe jump is going to be effective here. And where is this track going? Down here, a little bit of a grass wall ride. Let's take this one a little bit wider. And then we have the finish right in front of us with a risky finish to the right. Just noticed that, so we are not going to miss that on our second run here. Took that one a bit too inside. And see that little tiny plastic patch right in front of that checkpoint there? Does help you prepare for that slide. The one where we want to slide just a little bit more to avoid that half pipe jump. This one's going up and around to hit these checkpoints down on the bottom. We do want to take this wall ride a little bit wide to avoid that inside turn and cut it to the right to try to make it into that finish. Oh, it's going to be a bit of a challenge there. But it looks like we do have a 44:39 no respawn timer. Pretty interesting to see a risky finish on a campaign map. Not very typical for Nadeo to do. But, needless to say, I do enjoy it. Let's take that turn a little bit wider so that we have much more room to work with for that next turn. Up into the plastic, taking it wider. And we still hit that little tiny green sign. Let's see how manageable we can make this. Okay. So as long as you line it up properly, that is a pretty fair turn to make. I would like to see what this no respawn timer turns into. Let's give this a slight release with that turn. Try to avoid that penalty grass into the checkpoints for the grass wall ride. I would like to practice this risky finish just a little bit more because that is going to be quite challenging. Now I'm following. I missed the sign entirely. You are supposed to bonk off of that plastic wall, just as the map tells you to. Reminds me a lot of one of the previous campaign maps, which was also a blue track that finished with a plastic wall bounce. Cannot recall exactly which campaign it was from. And I don't know why I was not turning 100% there, because we could have made that turn. Take it wide into this next turn. And once again, I'm hesitating just a bit because I'm still too close to that wall. Up and around, minimize that grass there. I'm not mad about it. Take this low to get a left setup. And that time we got a little bit of air time, which we do not want on that jump. Around, let's not take it as low as we did that last time. Still try to make it to the left to get a full steer. Don't hesitate. Now we're rocking with something. Dropping down into the big right turn. Give it a slight release with the slide. Looking pretty fair so far. Avoid the penalty. Into the checkpoints for the grass wall ride. Taking it nice and wide. This time we're going to bonk right where it tells us to. Into the risky finish. Sitting at a 43.2, getting very close to our gold medal here. That turn was a bit later than I wanted it to be, but we do have a bit more speed than our PB. We're going to play it out to see how it goes. Still giving quite a bit of slip-ups here. Started that drift a little bit earlier than last time, so we could avoid that release. And as you see, I'm carrying much more speed than my PB. Still losing quite a bit of time though. Much more inside on that attempt. That felt much better. Up into the plastic. Keep it left, keep it nice and wide, all the way around. And that is feeling pretty good there. Holding that drift a bit too long, could definitely release a tad sooner to get much more speed there. Assuming I can keep this, this will most definitely be our gold medal. And just like that, we're at 42.4. 2 full seconds off of other time. I'd like to give it a couple more runs, maybe make it to the 10-minute mark on this map, just to see how much more we can improve before moving on. Looks like I have good speed here. All the way around, don't put that border. Try to take this a little bit high so we can avoid that air time. Into the drop down, into the slide. Not making it as long as I'm used to. Avoiding the penalty, about half a second ahead here, making good time. Optimizing that bonk position is going to be quite difficult as well. 42.0, not too bad, we are still improving. Straighten out to the left, cut it nice and close, even a little bit too close. Let's try this one again. Out to the left, all the way around, and now we're making a good connection there. No airtime, into the drop down, into the slide. Let's try to optimize this. Went a little bit too high on that wall, was not very comfortable with that. Already 1.4 seconds behind. Let's go ahead and reset that. I really do not like driving over that slight little grass patch. I feel like that gives way too much of a slowdown, and we cannot afford that right now. Good speed here. That was probably the best we've done that turn so far. Got pretty good speed. Is it going to be enough for a PP here? Slight PP. We are sub 42, sitting at a 41.9. 1.5 seconds off. That previous run felt really good because I did go a bit higher on that high grass turn. I feel like that helped me carry much more speed. But this one is feeling pretty good as well. Try to take this a bit more to the right, get a better setup for the risky finish, and we actually ended up jumping over it. There we are. That would have been a 41.8, making slight improvements still. Try to take this one a little bit higher up this time. Try to carry a little bit more speed. I'd like to see how that translates on these splits. Did not start turning early enough. Let's give it a couple more runs. We did just pass the 10-minute mark here. No grass, no. Gave it a slight release there because I felt like we were going to go a bit too far outside. Translating some good speed into another good wall ride. Let's go. Tried to go around that penalty grass. Did not mean to cut that far inside. Trying to aim right for that arrow underneath the bonk sign, just to get a feeling for where exactly that finish should be. Let's go for 1 or 2 more runs here. Very low on that grass ride. Seems to have cut a lot of our speed. Looks like that is not optimal. But there we're carrying much more speed. Definitely not mad about that. to go for the arrow, into the finish, slight improvements, only 200s. Definitely a lot to improve on this map here, but I will say I am enjoying this map quite a bit. That felt like a pretty fair turn. Let's see what the split looks like. Slower than the last time. And that turn felt extremely slow as well. Not too far behind though. We could see another PB here. Let's try to keep it to the right so we can get a nice line for that arrow. And we have a 41.7. Not too bad for the current time. Still about 1.3 seconds off of the author medal. We're going to go ahead and move on to track number 14 to see what else the Blue Series has for us. More sausage blocks to start off with. Definitely not my favorite. For everyone that watched the first series, the first video in the series, that map on the white series posed a bit of a challenge for me here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I did see a little bit of water there. That could be some wet plastic action. Could be a bit challenging here. And this is going to be a multi-lap track. Very interesting. Again, not very common to see on these campaign maps. But this is looking like a pretty fun track. Very mixed surfaces, lots to work with here, lots to improve on as well. Lots to work on airtime. You do have a little bit of a slide there. That is going to be a bit challenging. Let's go ahead and reset, see if we can get a clean-ish run here. Into the slide, and that was a bit early. Let's turn a bit sharper that first time around. For some reason, that slide is not wanting to connect for me. A little bit better that time. Did end up going over the release, and we did slightly tap the pole on that run. And we are going to go with another reset. I do notice a slight little drop down here at the starts. Not entirely sure how to prevent that, especially here on the sausage blocks. That's going to be a little bit strange. So we're just going to take it straight for now. See if that is something that we have to optimize to get the author medal. So I'm thinking that could be a possibility. Already not the biggest fan of this track. This one is going to be quite the challenge by the looks of it. Let's go ahead and get a full run here, just to see what time we're working with, and have a baseline to go off of. I am really struggling to get that one drift turn down. There we are. Finally did not tap the wall. Making a good connection onto the grass. Into the plastic wall ride. And this should be our first finish here at the end of the third lap. 104.8, that is going to be enough for a silver medal. Have about 6 seconds to improve for this gold medal here. Definitely cannot avoid any wall taps. And this one turn is going to be my biggest challenge. And off the bat, that already felt much better. Already have about 2 seconds on our last run here. And very challenging one. Let's go with another reset. Once again, that drift is not wanting to cooperate here. There we are. Thankful I did not tap that little barrier. 2.2 ahead, carrying much more speed. Let's see if we can carry this all the way through. Stick that nice and low so we don't get any airtime once again. Big slide to avoid tapping the wall. That dirt section is really there to mess with your steering, man. Still rocking with a 4-second PB. It's looking pretty promising. Once again, no wall tap. Good wood turn into the plastic wall ride, and let's see how much we improve. And we're at a 1:04. Not too bad. 1.4 seconds to go until we have the gold medal. This is looking doable. This one might just take a bit more practice. I say a couple more runs and we'll be there. And I already have a feeling that this other medal is not going to be an easy one. It is nice to get a feeling for these lines here. Taking that one a little bit wider to get a good setup for that turn. That drift, I should say, is already posing to be much more successful. Have a 1.3 second improvement currently. One lap to go. Let's see if we can carry this all the way to the end. And we tap the wall. Okay. Okay. As long as we can keep that up, that should be enough for our gold medal here. It is possible. Ooh. That cactus wanted to say hello. Ooh. Really risky drift. Don't know if I could call that much of a drift because I don't believe I actually slid there. One lap to go. Let's keep this up. Make the connection. Okay. Still could have been much better. Good transition into the dirt and into the grass. I don't even know what I'm saying this time around. But that is going to be enough for our gold medal at least. Really not too bad of a map once you get the feeling for it. We do still have just under 3 seconds to improve for this other medal. I'd like to give it a couple more runs to see how much more we can improve so we don't have that much to improve off of when we hunt these other medals. Seems like we're keeping up pretty well with our PB. A little bit behind. Really got to improve some of these slides here. That was already much better. Carrying more speed. Looks like we're about to catch up here. That is going to be a very slight improvement. Let's go and give it one more run. See if we can get another improvement. And we'll move on to track number 15. Just kidding. Last run. The run doesn't count when you mess up the only drift turn in the map. I told you guys it doesn't count. We're gonna go one more time here. One more just for good measure. That's what I wanted to see. See how well we can make this translate. Looks like we are a bit behind. Let's see how many more times I can get this slide down, because I know that is going to give us a much better improvement on this map. More speed. This should send us into a PB time, but we do still have one lap to go. Let's see if we can finish strong. Get a good slide. That looks promising. All we have to do is finish it off. Looking like about a half a second improvement. Ended up only being a quarter of a second, but we are going to take that for now. At least we got top 100 in the region of Texas. And for a final look, looks like we are still about 2.4 seconds off of the other medal here. But with that said, we're going to move into the last track for the Blue Series. Map number 15. Map number 15 does seem to be always a challenge for me on previous campaigns. So I would like to see if that is the same case for this campaign. Already we have the desert car, which could be a good sign because it seems like there is a lot of mixed opinions about driving with the desert car. I do enjoy it. Of course, I did start playing with it on controller, but thankfully I did not get too much experience before I picked up the wheel, just due to the fact that it's not a very common car to play with. Alright, and it looks like we do have 2 finishes on this map as well. Really quick, I am going to hop into Cam 7 just so we can take a look at that. As long as we can find those finishes. Where are those suckers at? So they are looking right down here. I do believe we come from this direction, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not entirely sure which one is faster. This one that's elevated does look to be the risky finish, which is where we finished initially. And of course it is closer to the jump. So I believe that is our intended line there. Let's go ahead and start run number 2. I do know this is an immediate drop to the right, to the left here. It looks to be my other right side. Already thankful that this is not a multi-lap as well. Lots of speed there. That's going to be a difficult turn to execute. Much better that time around. Looks like we can still take that a little bit wider to get the smoothest landing we can. Took that tilt way, way too far into this drop down. This is going to be a very hard left, so let's anticipate that a little bit more here. I'm almost wondering if a brake is going to be beneficial there, just so we can avoid sliding as much as possible. Because of course when your car is turned 90 degrees to either direction, it can slow you down quite a bit. And man, this desert car does like to tilt. Okay, now I do see why that is a risky finish. It is going to be a bit more difficult. You do need to carry a lot of speed there to the end to make that nice and smooth. Try to work on a lot of smooth steering here, just so we can avoid tilting that desert car as much as we can. Already seeing a lot of improvements This looks to be a pretty fun map by the looks of it so far. There we are. It's probably the smoothest we made that transition yet. Let's give it a... Ooh, okay. Looks like you do not want to release there. Either that, or I was just not steering enough. Still ahead of our PB. We're going to get a little bit more practice on this run, carrying it all the way to the finish. And of course to practice this risky finish as well. Seeing how much speed we need. Okay. Looks like I had about 360 there. And that does seem like it's going to be enough. I really am enjoying that start, now that we know how to execute it properly. This plastic section is probably my least favorite of this map so far. Just because controlling the desert car on plastic is a bit strange to me. Clipped a little bit of the penalty there, but that's alright. Really just going for some practice runs here. We're going to cut this nice and hard to the left, but not that hard. We do not want to hit that barrier there. Okay, it does seem like we need to take that a little bit wider, just so it's not throwing me into the wall every time we try to make that turn. Really thought I was going to hit that flagpole there. And let's go nice and wide to get a good setup with a lot of speed, and again we cut it too far to the left. Nothing we can't fix on this next run here. Not hitting the penalty, got a little bit of a lean there. Once again, taking it wide, let's keep it not that far to the right. Practice makes perfect, alright? Let's take that one a little bit wider as well, so we're not thrown into those barriers. Seems like there's concrete barriers everywhere on this map. And again, I feel like I was not turning that sharp, but we had a huge lean with the desert car there. Let's get some practice on this turn, and still no luck. Okay, there we go. Managing to lean just a little bit more. Take this wide, but not too wide. And once again, for some reason, it's just wanting to slam me into the barriers there. Yeah, it looks like we're not going to catch up to the PB here. Would like to get a bit more practice on the ending, just so that whenever we have a good run, I know a little bit more what to expect. There we had about 380, 390, and that's going to be very comfortable for the risky finish. Now let's try to connect these pieces, see if we can get a decent run here. Much better that time around. Still a lot to improve on, but at least we are not touching the barriers there. Carrying more speed. Ahead of our PB, of course. Dropping down into the grass. Let's take this one nice and wide. Flip that CP. Looks like we're not going to have enough speed for the risky. Oh, but we do. Sitting at a 41.5. Have about 1.5 seconds to improve here. It is doable. Let's see what else we can do. That was a fantastic turn that time around. And for some reason, that pulled me straight to the left. I was expecting a bit more resistance on that turn. Alright, yeah, I'm really getting an understanding for that smooth turn there. Could have been a lot better, but I am understanding that line much, much more. And this plastic section, man, very unpredictable. I feel like every time I drive it, it does have a different result, and I'm not entirely sure why yet. So you do have to crank it pretty hard to the left, just not very early on, more so towards the top of the turn there. Okay. Definitely not a fan of that turn there. Keep this one nice and smooth. Still turned a bit too sharp, but looks like we have pretty good speed here. Let's avoid these concrete barriers. And that's looking pretty promising. This time we didn't hit the checkpoint. That looks promising. Onto the grass. Not hitting that checkpoint. Onto the plastic for the risky finish. Let's see where we're at. And we do have a 39.6. Already really good improvements. That does finish out these 5 maps for the Blue Series. Let's give it just a couple more runs. Okay. Got quite a bit of a lean there, but it looks like it didn't slow us down too much. Whoa, really fast plastic section there. Almost too fast. I didn't know what to do as soon as we went to that checkpoint. Take that wide. Still got a lot of a lean there. Let's go into resets. Try this out a couple more times. Would like to get one more improvement just to solidify this goal here. That one felt really good. Take it around. Bit too much of a slide there. As you see, we lost a lot of speed. Way too much speed, to say the least. Fantastic start there. To the left, and once again, just a hair too far to the left. That looked like it was going to be a pretty solid run. Hit a little bit harder. Bit too hard. I'm thinking at the bottom of that hill there, we want to go a little bit wider so we don't have to turn as sharp, because of course that is what's causing our car to lean on that uphill. And already much more improvements. Okay. Looks like I have a pretty good understanding of that so far. Once again, that barrier on the left, man. Talk about an intentional obstacle. Getting pretty comfortable on the start. So that's going to set us up pretty nicely for hunting these other metals. Definitely could have been much better through that plastic section. I'd like to see what my split is on this next checkpoint here. 1.3 behind. I did not think I was that far off. A little bit of a lean there. I'm not entirely sure how that happened. But we should be carrying much more speed through here, which does not look to be the case, but that's alright. That chicane felt pretty good. Slightly behind the PB. Let's try to make these nice and smooth. See if there's any room to improve on this section. A little bit more lean with the desert car into the finish. Okay. So we were slightly faster on that last section. Let's give it 1 or 2 more runs, see what else we can do. Really good start that time around. Lots of frame rate there. Lost visuals for about half a second. Wish that did not happen. Looks like a solid start. Bit of a slide there, but that's going to give us a nice setup into this chicane. And once again, slingshotting out of that checkpoint, man. Okay, so I got through that checkpoint with really, really good time, but of course we are a bit slower this time around. Took that much more inside. Looks like it did not save us that much more time. But on that finish, I can definitely make that much, much smoother. Save it about 0.3, 0.4 seconds there. And I believe we are going to call it with that gold medal for now. So with that said, that is going to close out our 5 tracks for the Blue Series, maps 11 through 15. Thank you for joining me today. Join me for the next video while we tackle the next Red Series, maps 16 through 20. Of course, it is only going to get more challenging from here, and we will see what we are working with. But thank you so much for joining me. I will catch you guys next time. Peace.